defense said they were actually pretty happy with the sentences that were handed down today. What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, from our perspective, their one and only witness is somebody I'm going to be cross-examining tomorrow. They certainly are entitled to their opinion as to how it went today, but that gentleman wasn't subject to a cross-examination. So from my perspective, we'll see how that plays out tomorrow. As far as verdicts are concerned, the one verdict that is very telling is the determination that for the shooting of Officer Arkshan, he got the maximum punishment available under law, life sentence, and he also got the maximum fine. The other aspects of the case were fairly significant punishments, but from my perspective, certainly Officer Zarkshan deserves the full measure of what he went through to be. The jury recognized that, so I think a life sentence sends a pretty strong signal from our perspective as to how this jury is thinking right now.
You're going to be asking them to sentence David Ware to the death penalty. How confident are you that they will come back with that sentence?
Well, at this point, I don't prognosticate as to what's going to happen or not happen.
Yeah, can we start that again?
So I'm not going to prognosticate as to what a jury's going to be doing. We ask these folks to listen to the evidence and make a determination. I'm confident that this jury is qualified to make a decision, and if they think the death penalty is warranted, which is what we're going to be asking for, we certainly have a mountain of evidence to demonstrate that. Like I said, it sends a pretty strong signal that of the full range of punishment for shooting Officer Zarkshan, it could have been anywhere from 0 to life. There's a reason why life is the maximum punishment for somebody that shoots another person. You could have any set of facts that could come out with any different number of years, but in this particular case, that jury came back and really without much hesitancy gave a life sentence. So for me, I look at that as a strong statement as to where they're at. And we're certainly we still got another part of the case to put on, and it's going to be a heavy lift for that jury. There's other evidence that folks have not heard or seen, and we'll be putting it on tomorrow.
I had to run out for a live hit, but our legal analyst was telling us something about Sergeant Johnson's widow and his kid taking the stand. Did you say something about that?
Well, no, it's so Mrs. Johnson and their son have prepared victim impact statements, and we fully expect that they're going to be testifying tomorrow. They were on our witness list, and so this jury's going to hear from them.
That's going to be hard.
Yes, I mean it's been hard for that family from the very beginning. It's nothing that anybody would want to do, but they're strong people, and it's information the jury needs to hear.
The jury came back and sentenced Mr. Ware on the non-death counts. We're pleased with the verdicts, and we think it indicates that this jury is going to show Mr. Ware some grace. We're going to show him some mercy. It's not the type of verdict that I would expect if they were leading up to death. They haven't heard the aggravating or the mitigating factors about the case yet, but most of the aggravating factors, they already heard about those in the first stage anyway, and they haven't really heard our side of it yet. So we're very hopeful that the jury will spare Mr. Ware's life.
One of the things that you said is, before this trial started, is that you were confident we weren't going to go to a second stage. I mean, what are you thinking now?
I'm thinking that I have a great issue on appeal that I didn't get self-defense instruction. The state of Oklahoma did not object to Betty Shelby getting a self-defense instruction when she killed Terrence Crutcher, okay, and he wasn't within arm's reach of her, okay, and she was acquitted. I think that while the jurors were out, that they ask about what is the definition of an unlawful death, and that is where the self-defense instruction would fit into. So I was forced to argue the intent, but I think the jurors just kind of naturally knew, hey, isn't this self-defense? but since they didn't get the instruction, we're stuck with it. I knew that Mr. Ware was going to have to serve some time because he was unlawfully in possession of a firearm, and hopefully by the time he gets finished with that, we'll get the case reversed because he did not receive a self-defense instruction.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what you're talking about as far as the sentences that they handed down today? I thought they were pretty stiff, personally, but you say it encourages you, so help me understand that a little better.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, look, if you're going to sentence a man to death, you're going to max him out on all the other ones, all the lower sentences, and you're not only going to max him out on the time, you're going to max him out on the fine. That's generally what you get when you're leading up to a death verdict, and then what the attorney is doing is just trying to get trying to get them to slow down a little bit and stop. The fact that they were out for, I don't know, what was it, an hour and a half for debating it shows you that there are people back there that are wanting to show mercy. They're wanting to show some grace. You have to have all 12 people to agree in order to execute somebody, and these are supposed to be reserved for the worst of the worst. And the truth is look, if Sergeant Johnson was security guard Johnson, we wouldn't even be here. Okay, it'd have been a normal murder case. Okay, the reason the state of Oklahoma filed a bill of particulars is because Sergeant Johnson is a police officer. If a police officer kills you, they're not even going to charge him most of the time. And if you kill a police officer, they're going to ask a jury to execute you. It's unequal justice in our society, and it's certainly something that needs to be addressed. It's not equal justice under law. It's not the way our Constitution was meant to be interpreted, to be applied. And if you look at the biggest cases in our society over the last 20 years, biggest criminal cases, most of them involved a police officer on one side or another. It's this constant issue that keeps coming up, is what is the proper role for law enforcement in interaction, and do you have the right, the God-given constitutional right to defend yourself if you're being abused by a law enforcement officer? We believe that you do, and we believe that the judge's decision that Mr. Ware didn't even get an opportunity to give the jury the option was wrong, and we certainly plan on vigorously appealing the case.
How long do you think we'll be here, or how long do you think it'll be before the jury starts deliberating this part?
I would think Wednesday. I would think it's probably going to be Wednesday by the time we get the instructions and everything in order. Judge LaForge has been very careful. He doesn't want to rush. I know it takes a little bit longer, but it's, in the long run, it could save a lot of time, not rushing.
Do you want to say anything about co-counsel stepping down?
It's hard to get good help these days, especially when they're not paying you very much. They didn't give me a lot to work with to find somebody. But I'll say the one thing we agreed on was in the case was his leaving it.
We didn't get a chance to ask you Friday, but one of the things that Chief Franklin's called your client is evil. Do you have any response to that?
Chief Franklin wouldn't know evil if it bit him in the ass. David Ware's not evil.
I think that's a place we start. Thank you.
All right.